What is up, my bud?
What's going on? How you doing?
Hey, man. So, guys, that is Dr. Pooch. Not his real name, but that's what we're going to call him today because that's what he goes by.
Yeah.
Dr. underscore Pooch, Dr. underscore Pooch. Is that supposed to be a play on like Dr. Seuss?
No, I actually didn't choose that name. It was given to me before. I mean, probably by 1 years old. I can confirm I was Dr. Pooch already. So I've been Dr. Pooch my whole life. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Well, that's really cool. And by the way, I met him on Clubhouse. So if you're not on Clubhouse, get on there because you'll meet all kind of interesting people. I was in Pete Cohen's room, and you just happened to be up on stage, and Pete was making a big deal about you. I'd never heard of you before. Jimmy, you got to meet Dr. Pooch, and I'm like, he looks kind of weird to me. I'm just being honest, Pete. I don't really know much about this Pooch guy, but was looking up your work. You are doing some phenomenal work because I've always, within my own work, asked myself, how do we stop people long before chronic disease starts? And the way you do it is you reach kids, and you reach kids with messages. And just before you came on, I was showing them your brand new book that's coming out soon, Inflammation Nation.
Nice.
Like inflammation,
Very, very important book right there.
to understand much. What?
No, I said that's a very important book. Most adults gravitate towards that book.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. And I'm getting to that point too. Most adults don't understand a lot of the concepts that you're trying to teach to kids. So what better way than to get the kids and, Mommy, did you know when your arteries are inflamed, you could have a heart attack? You know, you could really like teach adults through their kids.
That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm just breaking it down to a level. So, because most doctors, when you walk out of the doctor's office, they'll spew a whole bunch of $5, $25,000 words and all of these big concepts that and you're kind of intimidated to ask simple questions like you give your authority and your power up to this doctor. Oh, okay. And bottom line here, just take these pills. And then you just walk out of there kind of defeated. There, you didn't really learn anything. You didn't really apply anything to your life. And these books are really the answer to that. It just breaks it down. Like, what is inflammation? Okay, you have it in your joints. Oh, okay, you're dealing with arthritis. You have it in your heart. Okay, you might have a heart attack, like you said. Like, it's wherever the inflammation goes, and it's such a simple concept that a child can understand it, literally. And then a child can diagnose it and provide anti-inflammatory foods for the adult. Now they can prescribe something.
It gives them motivation to do something at a point in their life where they feel invincible. I mean, we all remember eating boogers and playing in the dirt and all the things that you do as kids, right? Like, we all remember those days.
I never ate boogers. I'm just playing with you. Go ahead, man.
Relatable. But yeah, so it seems to me this is the answer, which is why I wanted you on my show today, because I feel like you've tapped into something. And then on top of not just educating the kids, but educating them where they are culturally, you know, and using minority characters and teaching them that way. To me, this is like a brilliant concept. So I want to say kudos to you, and I want to get into how you came up with it in a minute, but amazing concept.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, last night I was at a show at Leimert Park. I'm here in Los Angeles, right? It's like, you know, South Central, Crenshaw District. So I was at a show last night. I actually performed. If you check my IG, you could, you know, see some of my performance. It was a beautiful show. Leimert Park is a really iconic area. And I met a gentleman there as part of the Freestyle Fellowship. I was already following him. I mean, he's a legend, right? But he was just out there in the community, and we started talking about these books, and I realized that these books are hip hop. Like, that's how I started, you know, and utilizing the culture, using the culturally relevant, the culture, the cultural, kid, like he's half black, half Mexican, and, just speaking to that demographic, right? It really speaks to the culture. Like it tells a story that kids can identify with in the language that they can identify with. So we're using the hip hop culture to promote this. And there's, Yep. Guess what makes you strong?
Dude, this is
Yeah.
this is just amazing, and I love the illustrate. Do you do all your own illustrations?
No, I don't. You know, so the that last image, it's very powerful. What so the gentleman, if you see there, the older man, that is actually the original illustrator. He drew himself into
Oh,
the story, Cousin Dave. But the twist about the story is we started doing this years ago, and we sketched out the whole series together. But he was diagnosed with cancer and quickly developing cancer. Um, by the time we hit book 6 and he was hospitalized and chemotherapy started, and you know what happens with that, he just withered away. I tried to talk to the family about alternative measures. They really weren't interested. They just wanted him to, kind of pass, unfortunately. So at his wake, or at a, some type of a celebration for his life, I was able to meet some of his family members and just, share stories about his life. And I found out later that he had drew himself into the series. And so that image right there is just, I just, it's just powerful for me.
so at the time you had no idea
I
book
didn't
6
know. I
him.
didn't know that. I was like, yeah, just give me a character. Like, I
Oh,
want my main character to be talking to this older guy. And he drew himself in there. So,
wow.
like, this little character is healing this guy, which I wanted to do. That's what my heart wanted to do. I wanted to, get him out of the hospital and try some alternative things. But,
Yes.
I didn't get that opportunity. But, it's, yeah,
Man, that's special. That book
yeah,
6, you'll never forget book 6 now.
yeah.
Let's back up,
Okay.
because you don't just start writing children's books, number one. You don't just get interested in holistic health, number two. So, kind of back us up. What got you interested in the holistic health part? Are you a practitioner of some sort? I know you call yourself doctor here, but anybody?
Yeah, yeah. I know it gets kind of tricky nowadays with all the terminology.
Yes.
Um, no, Dr. Pooch, like I said, is just a nickname that I've had since before speaking age. All I remember is Dr. Pooch. My family all calls me Pooch. Even I have family from that's non-English speaking from West Africa, and they
Yeah.
all call me Pooch. Like if I
Wow.
go to my grandmother's village, like, or my grandmother's like, part of the city, I'm Pooch. Like everybody knows me as Pooch, and the closer ones know me as Dr. Pooch. So I've always been interested in holistic health. So okay, I as I was born in LA. My father is Senegalese. And so in the 90s, when things were just, that era in LA, right? You understand what I'm talking about. Um I started going down that road. My older brother started going down that road, and my father wasn't having it. So he basically kicked us out. And he kicked us way out. We first had one of his cousins or something. She was living in Paris at the time, Paris, France. And we went to France for a scholastic year. And it was just the craziest. I was like 11 years old at the time. And then we went to Senegal for another 5 years. And then I came back to the United States. So my worldview shifted over that time. I
Yes.
was exposed to a lot being in Senegal, and I always had an innate hunch that nature provided the cure, right? I remember just thinking, like, the AIDS throughout the AIDS epidemic, like, I'm sure there's something in the Amazon that cures that, right? And it was just something innate in me. And I was always down that path. So anyway, fast forward, when I came back, my parents were like pretty much divorcing at that time. And so I was going from like one crazy situation to the next. So my whole childhood was just, 3 months here, 9 months here, 6 months here, boarding school, like just a bunch of just different situations. So I became an independent thinker. And by the time I got back to the United States, when it was time to go to college, my experience and coupled with the fact that my home life wasn't really all that stable,
Yes.
I just found my own path. And ultimately, in 2012, I got into a program, the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. Great program. I became a certified health coach. So then I started going out into the community and just talking to people. And we at Leimert Park, actually, I would every Friday I would go to Leimert Park, and there's another park like right up the street from Leimert Park. It's called the Triangle Park. And we would just hang out there. And at one point, it was like probably 15 black men. And we were just, I would lead the discussion. We're talking about things. And this entrepreneurial spirit kind of rose out of that. Yes. And that's the beginning of this book series. Just ideas were getting thrown around and all of this. And once I realized, like, I had already had a hunch and a will to write children's books. I just didn't know when and where and what about. But two and two came together, and I just started getting the downloads. Like,
dude, can I make an observation? I don't know you other than what I've read online and heard you on Clubhouse, and I'm hearing you today. But I feel like people like yourself, I feel like I fall in this category as well, that went through shit as a kid. Like really bad trauma.
Yeah.
Something either shakes you down a bad path and makes you go down a path of ugliness in your life that ends in inevitable calamity, or you get shook into finding purpose and growing up fast and trying to figure out, I've got greater meaning in this world than the mess I grew up in. And I'm really happy to hear you fall in that latter category, because the creativity juices were flowing in you for a very long time. Same for me. I've written 9 adult health books.
Oh, wow.
And it's just one of those things that had you told me years ago I'd be doing that, I'd have been like, yeah, that's a dream, but not likely based on thing for you. Like all that turmoil in your past, in your childhood, now you're channeling, and you've got beautiful kids. I was looking at the picture with your
yeah, thank you. That's my son right there. That's my little guy.
Like you can tell it just oozes out of you now, this passion for reaching these kids, and you found purpose and creativity, and you're expressing it. And you're 12 books into your series with probably hundreds more to come over the year. You're still a very young man too, so you've got plenty of time to keep impacting lives. But I just wanted to impart that on you, that yes, what was maybe meant to harm you when you were younger, you're channeling it into something really good now.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, that's the only thing to do with that trauma. It's to channel it in the right way, and it gives us perspective of like, I couldn't have become a healer if I wasn't sick. I couldn't be. You have to go through the dark side to understand what the light is about, or it's a pendulum, it goes both ways. And so the deeper you go down one end, the more you can rise on the other end. So thank you. I mean, that's exactly what it is. But that being said, we have work to do, because there's the kids are dealing with adult issues. Like we're in the first generation of children that may outlive, first generation of parents rather, that may outlive their own children. Right. So we're at a real critical time in history. I was sharing with somebody last night, and I always, this is kind of my new little thing. They keep telling us, this is generation X, this is generation Y, or this is generation Z. Right. And so it's like, okay, generation X, Y, Z, that's the end. There's nothing after that. Right. So I want to flip it. I'm going to use my little hip hop skills and flip that. So I say we're the regeneration, because we have to regenerate our soils. We have to regenerate our gut bacteria. We have to regenerate our systems and our curriculums. And, so in that word, there's a little bit of hope. But in generation X, Y, Z, I don't see any hope at all.
No, and as a member of Gen X, I see no hope in Gen Z right now. So I need a regeneration to really give me hope again.
Yeah. Let's do it, man. Come on.
Yeah. Well, you are doing it. That's the
Yeah.
amazing part. These books, I mean, you're going through all the different kind of topics.
Yeah.
Every is energy. I'm showing a few of your books on screen here so people
Yeah.
can see the topics. I mentioned earlier, the Inflammation Nation is your next book coming out very soon. You can
Yeah.
pre-order now. Like all of these things, guys, this is stuff that I talk to in adult language all the time, and I try to simplify it even for the adults. But the fact that you would even dare take on children, what age children are you trying to target with your series?
These books, ideally, is K through third grade. It's actually been approved as supplemental curriculum through the LAUSD, Los Angeles Unified School
Well,
District. Yeah, for K through third grade, right? So 5 years old to 8 years old, but as early as 3 years old, kids can interact with the book because if you see, um, how can I show you? Let me do this. So like on the back end of the book, something that you don't see there is that, let me try to show you there. There's actual there's like a color me page. There's curriculum right in the back, little like hangman activities. There's games and exercises. There's recipes, right?
yes.
It just, the whole family is really coming together on
Yeah.
this book series, and every book is different and all set up the same way.
Ketochow is a customizable shake mix that is also perfect for cooking and baking, giving you simple, nutritionally perfect meal options. Ketochow. Make keto easy. Discover your favorite flavor at jimmylovesketochow.com.
So it's interactive is what I'm seeing there.
Absolutely. That's the only way, is to engage. Because like I said, it's not the kids, it's the parents.
And look what you're fighting. You're
Yeah.
fighting iPads, you're fighting video games, you're fighting Netflix, you're fighting a lot of things trying to get their attention.
Yeah.
Why do you think the way you've outlined it, which by the way, what you just showed, brilliant, beautiful, good job. Like as a marketing guy, I admire people that you can see took thought and forethought into what they're doing, and you have purpose in mind with all of that. So good job. Why do you think it resonates so much in the age of the iPad?
Children innately like books. We're hardwired for this. We have a genetic information for millennia with something tangible like this new age stuff. Is We're the first generation that's really interacting with this, and these kids today are the first generation that are growing up with these phones in their faces. So this is something totally new. Books, like, remember when Amazon came out and they were like, oh, books are, paperback books is gone. The data never showed that. The data always showed there was a little ebook spike, and then it went right back to the, paperback book, because kids love things that they can touch and feel and rip up.
Well, and you put a toddler down on the ground and give them a book, they'll just sit there and just turn the pages and start chewing on the corner. They'll do
exactly.
And it's not easy with an $800 iPad. So.
Yeah. I mean, and there's the people who are developing the software for the, like even this app, the Instagram and all the other social media apps. They understand that there's an addictive quality that these a destructive quality that these social media apps have. Like they're corrupt by nature. Like I'm always like, look, I follow a lot of I follow random people. I love hip hop and all of this stuff, but there's a lot of sexuality on my feed, and so I'm like, day by day I'm always like muting different, because you never know if like I'm scrolling and my son is around. I don't want his eyes to like surprise. So
you don't need a Cardi B song coming on right as your son's walking by.
Right. And I mean, like, so even just yesterday, I got into an argument with my wife, because like she thinks I'm like looking at something. I'm like, look, this is a spiritual page that I'm following. One of my boys who has a spiritual page, but there's Cardi B on there because she's part of the culture now. So every it's just everywhere. But there's no responsibility. There's no really accountability. And even Cardi B, for example, there's a video that I saw of her. She was about to start twerking or something like that. And then she saw her daughter in the background and she immediately stopped the music. And I thought that that was so powerful. Like, wow, she even understands that her daughter shouldn't be shown certain messages, but she's putting this out for millions and billions now of children to, you know, watch her twerk and sexualize them at an early age. So, you know, there's a level of like, accountability and irresponsibility that we're at. And hopefully, like, the more we can talk about the importance of children and health, then we'll value more what we're doing.
Well, and health goes beyond physical. I think when people hear health, they think weight, they think disease, but they don't think about mental health. Yeah. The last year and a half has been trying on a lot of kids' mental health. They don't think about spiritual health and kind of health of kind of their being. There's so many aspects to health, and especially of kids, that quite frankly, you and I didn't get when we were kids. We were dealt a bad card when we were in our developmental years, and somehow, some way, we figured it out along the way as adults. But why not start those kids on that holistic health journey as early as possible, which again is why your work is so important.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, most doctors, right? Like, if I take book 2 out of the series, superfoods are super fun. If I put a doctor on the spot and say, give me 3 superfoods right now, list them out, they'll be stuck. They'll be, kale, broccoli, spinach, right? It's like they don't have this knowledge offhand.
No. Well,
here should be common knowledge.
Here's the dirty secret, Dr. Pooch. Doctors don't get training in nutrition, and yet everybody,
like 30 minutes.
They know exactly what they should be eating because, they're doctors. They know everything about health, but if they're lucky, I have interviewed thousands of people over the years of doing this show, and most of them doctors or some kind of medical training. All of them, I ask, how much education did you get? I got from as short as 1 3-hour seminar. That was all he got in his whole 4-year career as a doctor in training. And as long as 2 weeks. Now, that doesn't count naturopaths. That doesn't count other people in holistic health. Right. In allopathic medicine, 2 weeks was the longest I ever heard. And that's because even in 2 weeks, how much do you really learn? And then do you learn about metabolic pathways that food is impacting, things like insulin and inflammation and all the things that I've talked till I'm blue in the face and you talk about as well.
Yeah, it's criminal. It's criminal what's happening. Our systems have been hijacked, and that's why it's time to start writing new curriculum and creating new systems and creating new. Once the values shift, like if a generation, this is the trump card, like this is my way, this is my checkmate kind of to the medical mafia, right? So if a generation of kids have this knowledge and they know this, then by the time they get into medical school, they're going to be like, okay, no, like we know how to address this a different way.
And those kids that read your books that don't necessarily grow up to be doctors, they know the right questions to ask, and they're not afraid to challenge doctors. Because here's another kind of let's sprinkle some fairy dust into this conversation, is the pharmaceutical influence over the medical system. It's
right. That's the medical mafia.
Medical mafia. I love that term, by the way.
Yeah.
The medical mafia includes not just the pharmaceutical companies, but big food as well. All these like highly palatable foods, which I know you rail on sugar in a few of your books as well. And so they all play a complicit role. And then they're like a rotating door with government kind of health institutes as well. Don't get me started on dietary guidelines for Americans.
It's a riot, man. It's a riot. But they're running a scam based off of our ignorance. We just don't know better. And so people are, okay, we'll follow the, the non-fat trendy diet, and then we'll follow this, and they're all just basically sugar free and this and that, and they understand what that concept actually means. We don't. as the consumer. We think that they're looking out for our best interest. Oh, it's sugar free. Oh, it's diet. It's this and that. But
I think
they're parasites, man. They're like getting our money, and
yes. The biggest revelation happened when I read an interview from the guy that is the CEO of McDonald's. And somebody asked him in an interview, it's just kind of a throwaway question, do you let your kids eat at McDonald's? He went, hell no.
Ooh, he said hell no.
McDonald's.
Yikes.
Yeah.
He said hell no.
Hell no.
You see how arrogant that is? That's a slap in the face, man. That's so arrogant to say that. Like, the audacity to say hell no, like, on an interview. That's yikes, man. That's scary. Like, the level of hypocrisy, man. And the same thing with these apps, like social the YouTube and Instagram, Facebook. Those owners don't let, like, Silicon Valley. I heard in Silicon Valley, they have to sign just like they sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. They have to sign a non-technological agreement with maids and nannies and stuff that come to the house in Silicon Valley. Like, don't bring your technology around my children, right? We want our children growing up with books and other things, because we understand that this technology is wiring their brain, those pathways, those neural pathways that you're talking about, in a way that we don't quite yet understand. So it's criminal, the fact that they're just making money off of us and then parading and say, oh yeah, everything is good, and on the front end of it, but on the back end they're like, hell no. Like, that's crazy.
Well, people would say, well, they're allowed to make money the way they want to make money, and I'm a capitalist at heart. I'm okay with that if you want to make money, but I do think an ethical component does need to come into play, especially when it's talking about kids.
Yeah.
All bets are off when you start talking about kids, because you start effing with people's kids, they're going to come after you if they learn the truth. And we're kind of seeing that a little bit right now with this little hokey pokey in the arm where the kids should be taking it. And some parents are going, well, I guess we need to protect the greater society. I'm like, no, push back, because at least ask questions. When
that's another criminal thing that's happening right now. All the data since the very beginning of this pandemic has shown that kids are not affected. That population, that demographic of children, are affected at a 0.02%.
Right.
So the now it has shown to be more harmful than the actual thing, and the has been approved for emergency use only. This hasn't been approved.
So I'm going to ask you to say hokey pokey, because they banned me from YouTube.
Got you. Yeah. I love the hokey pokey.
But it makes it funny and people know what you're talking about.
You're right. I saw that the other day. I was laughing. I love it. And pardon me. I usually say the V word, but
yes. But they actually get that one too. So you can't say that one.
Really?
Can't say JAB. You have to use, like, I know, dude, I play the game well, so I have to be real careful. I meant to warn you ahead of time if we talk about this.
Okay. Yeah, the hokey pokey.
Instead of the what it is, I say the Black Plague.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah, very smart. Very smart. Very smart. A lot of this, all of the the mask coverings and all of that, like, it started with the Black Plague, like the whole premise of the three thieves. I don't know if you know that story, where they added vinegar and vinegar, garlic, and there's like a recipe. So there's these three thieves. I don't know if they're four thieves or whatever. But during the Black Plague, they went in, they covered their face with these masks, dipped in apple cider vinegar, garlic, and I forget what the other one was, the other ingredients, so they say. And they went in and they stole all the belongings of like rich folks that were dying of the plague in France and through Europe, and they got like insanely rich. And that's how this story of the mask is going to help you, like, but it was a mask like that actually had other antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral components to it, so it's not just the mask that we're wearing now. But that's where as far as I know, that's the first incident of people wearing masks, and it showed the protection against a virus.
hey, maybe if we dipped ours in ACV and maybe a little, cumin, just all kind of little things that would be anti-inflammatory and
It'll do something else. Yeah, man.
dripping down your cheek.
Yeah, yeah. But it shows once again a natural, something, natural immunity, garlic, and natural virus killers, antifungal, antibacterial. Like these things clean. Vinegar is a natural cleaner.
Yeah.
Hydrogen peroxide, another. These things. Most of the cleaners like that they're using that are approved are just hydrogen peroxide. And so we're being duped on a very, very grand level, and we just need to get back to the basics, of what medicine is and the what nature has already provided for us. She's already provided all of the answers. So,
well, what medicine is as few of medicines as possible. Ironically, medicine is not about medicine, or it shouldn't. The original medicine was sunshine, fresh air, playing in the dirt, doing all these kind of healthy modalities, things that you talk about in your books, which again, guys, if you joined us late, this is Dr. Pooch. Yes, that's his real name. Don't ask questions. And over on Instagram, Dr._Pooch, Dr._Pooch. He's the author of 12 right now, holistic children's kids books, using hip hop culture to teach them about healthy living. So a really fascinating character, and I'm learning so much about you here today. I knew I was going to love you, but I'm loving you more than my expectation.
Thank you. Likewise.
Because, dude, you're doing something that I haven't seen other people do. And quite frankly, is there anybody else even trying to do this kind of thing you're doing?
I mean, at this point, and for a while now, I think I realized I've cornered the market in terms of holistic health and the concepts, like the extent of the concepts that I cover. And I'm just covering, basic what I feel are the 12 most important holistic health concepts. I feel that I tackled the most important issues without hitting the hokey pokey and all of the, I stay away from the political stuff. Like,
right. Well, and actually hokey pokey should never have become political.
Right.
It became it. And so, but we got to talk about immunity, because that's health. If you have no system, you have no health. Talk about those 12 things. Let's just kind of throw a few at me and let's kind of discuss.
All right. So book 1 is Sugar from Nature is Always Fine. The essence of that book is sugar from nature is always fine. It's only a hazard when sugar's refined. Right?
Oh, I love that. And for kids, that is a great message. Like, I'm in the low carb world. I've written a bunch of keto books. I'm a keto guy. But like, that's because I had crap foods when I was a kid that damaged me, and I've got insulin resistance because of that. And so I try to teach adults. But from a kid standpoint, yes, if it's natural sugar, that's wonderful. It's where it's the refined, like you said. And the problem is mama and daddies are buying all this like refined stuff and not realizing that's slowly making their kids less healthy. Kids don't get diabetes from eating apples.
You tired of playing the mask game? Me too. That's why I wanted to tell you about the Unmask. This is a breathable, completely breathable. It covers, you can't even see that it's breathable, but it's breathable. Whether you're going on a plane, having to go into a store and wearing this thing, playthemaskgame.com is how you can get this mask. They come in all kinds of colors and everything. In fact, right there, you can see right through it what it is, but when you're wearing it, it does not look like it's anything different, but it's breathable, baby. Playthemaskgame.com.
Yeah, no, they don't. And, kids are walking around. I do workshops like I did a workshop kind of deep in South Central one time. What's the name of the school? The ICEF school, ICEF. And I asked the class. I said, do you know anybody with diabetes? This young girl, bless her, man, like she raised her hand. She was so anxious to participate, and she said, "Oh, my whole," and then she stopped herself and she said, "My mama, my brother, my uncle, my father." Like she listed everybody in her family. Like, it's mind-boggling. And she's next up because she was a little, chubby little girl. Like,
Well, and
so,
the problem is then that becomes not kind of a product of her environment and what they're eating. They call it genetic. Well, everybody in my family has type 2 diabetes, therefore it's just inevitable it's going to happen to me while I eat my potato chips and Little Debbie snack cakes and
yeah.
Coca-Cola. They're not seeing the connection between the habits culturally within that family unit that caused that, rather than it being genetics.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that goes back to the historical, that goes to the eugenics philosophy of, oh, these people are undesirable. They have bad genetics. And, we should just get rid of them because they obviously are sick and they're a burden on society. But all of that can be reversed within one generation. Like,
yeah, epigenetics is a thing.
There you go, right? We can turn genes on and off. So, it's all based. So that's what I'm saying. It's criminal it's criminal. The fact that we've been in our homes for, over a year and a half and nobody has learned anything in regards to, anti-inflammatory protocol or reversing anything, like nothing.
How hard would it have been for them to just say, all right, everybody, it's essential that you go to a farmer's market, that you go to your supermarket, whatever, but get real food. Avoid the processed foods because that's going to make your susceptibility to this black plague that much worse if you get it. But just eat real food. If we could have just switched everybody from eating junk food, which flew off the shelves in March, April last year, and just gotten on what my friend Sean Croxton talks about, JERF, just eat real food, JERF. And if we could just get people to JERF, we'd have been better off. Within like 6 to 12 months, it would have easily paid big dividends and we would have had less calamity from this.
Yes, because everybody's dealing with pre-existing conditions. So if we're not addressing and now we have so that's the older side of it. They're dealing with pre-existing conditions. But the thing is that the children now are being aged rapidly due to the food that they're eating. So a 5-year-old is really metabolically 15-year-old or 16, and that's that 16-year-old metabolically now is a 30-year-old. Like, so these kids are the old folks now, and the black plague is getting who? The old folks. That's a susceptible demographic.
And ironically, it's from these things called AGEs, advanced glycation end products, guys. If you've never heard that phrase before, go look them up. You want to learn how to speed up aging? Have more AGEs in your body. And the way you get there is eating sugar, refined foods, stress, which has been another part of kind of this equation.
Yeah.
There's so many factors. So let's get to some other book topics.
Okay. Superfoods are super fun. They're super good for everyone. So basically, like, what do superheroes eat? They eat superfoods. And, it's just a fun way to get kids to eat healthy. Whole food is better. This book, I talk about all types of whole food, milk, dairy, meat, grains, nuts, fruits, all of that, because not every people see this book series and they're like, oh yeah, I love it. It's vegan. No, I'm not telling everybody to go vegan. Like, this is the first step. You can't go from junk food to vegan, and I'm not advocating for anybody to go vegan. Like, this is a step up. Like, know what you eat whole foods, eat clean meats, know your farmer, like, just basic stuff. The next book is He Stood Up for Himself. This deals with bullying, all types of bullying, verbal bullying, physical bullying, cyber bullying, and the appropriate individual and communal responses. I really love this book. It's great. Great activities in the back. Go ahead.
Laura wanted to know where she can get the books. You have drpooch.com. They're also
at Amazon. Yes, sir. Yep.
Yes. Go to Amazon, Laura. They're all there. Just type in Dr. Pooch or go to drpooch.com and he's got links there. I tried to go to the one on Linktree and it went to some kind of a broken page. So we'll.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah. I'll tell you after we're done so that you can.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm still working out some kinks. I apologize. Wow, that shouldn't be though. That shouldn't be.
I got you back, man. I got you back.
Thank you, thank you. I need to know all of those little kinks. It happened to me the other day. Somebody made a purchase and they got charged twice, and I had to refund. But communicate with me, people. I'm here. It's okay. Water. Where does all the water go? Is another one. So this talks about the cycle of water, water conservation, basically the external world of water. And I have another book that deals with the internal world, the water that we drink, the various waters. This one is called Water is Life, and that one's coming soon. You could see some images of that on my IG. I have Toxic Tales coming soon. I have Allergy Season. I have Inflammation Nation, like you showed. I have It Started from Seed, right? Talking about the seeds. I have Everything is Energy, talking about just the different alternative energy sources that we have. What else do we have? I think that's my favorite. Sugar and salt are always at fault, right? So that's talking about refined sugar and refined salt, and I'm learning to identify those in the products. Is basically any junk food has refined sugar and refined salt, and
usually refined fats as well. So like the seed oil. So sugar. Fat, the kind of hyper palatability of the mix of those three for that bliss point they're looking for. This is the thing moms and dads don't know about, Dr. Pooch, is these food manufacturers, they have scientists, food scientists on their, working in a lab going, how can three things to make them hyper palatable, because they say, bet you can't eat just one. Once you pop, you can't stop. They're not lying. They literally are creating them that way.
So you know what the FDA stands for?
Go.
Food is dope in America.
And look, we don't mean dope in the hip hop slang style. It's literally, it's dope.
Dope, man. It's dope. They're hooking us, man. They know what they're doing. I absolutely agree with you. Food is dope, and it's the entry point for all of this crazy behavior. The kids, like, I see kids holding, like I had a little nephew, and I said he's so funny. And he's he's obese, and he at that time in his at that time he liked to drink sodas, and we were at an adult party, and he's like kind of the life of the party, sitting there with a soda in his hand, and it looked like a beer. He's holding it like a beer and just like talking to people just socially. I'm like, wow, this is how they start. And I call it, and that belly pooch that they develop, I call it the baby baller beer belly. That's the
and in 10 years it will actually be a beer belly, because it'll go soda to beer.
But it's the same fermentation. It's the same thing from the the sugar. The same thing from the soda is happening with the beer. We just don't realize that it's just it's just the kid version of beer. It's like those little cigarettes we used to get off the ice cream truck, but it's bubble gum. We just like blow it, and sugar, powdered sugar flies out. Like they know what they're doing.
I used to buy those little candy cigarettes.
Yeah.
And the big bubble gum cigars. And you just, kind of.
I used to love it, man.
Like in hindsight, you kind of go, "What the were we thinking? What?"
Yeah, man. Yeah, the big league gum. That's the tobacco, and we just like sitting there chewing it. It's craziness.
The big one to me was the pixie sticks. I grew up a kid in the 80s, so the pixie was just these long little paper sticks that were full of sugar.
Yeah.
That was it. There was nothing redeeming about them. They were fun, I guess, as a kid. They sitting there, okay, I need another hit. C2 as kids. I hate to think of it in that way, but they do condition us to all these bad adult behaviors with all these things as kids. Man. And we wonder why we grow up and have tendencies. There it is.
Yeah, because it's all drug trade. I mean, it's all drug trade. Like since the beginning since the inception of America and this this new world, it's been on the traffic of not only humans, but humans to produce drugs. Like sugar was that drug of the ancient world, and it actually is a drug. Like the Arabs first learned how to they were the masters of chemistry at one time, like the 7th century, 8th century, and they understood how to refine it, and that was a coveted secret throughout history. And the people who learned how to refine sugar, were able to control certain of their populations, and they understood that there's power with this chemical. And in Europe, it was like, it was so expensive that the royalty used to only have a little bit of sugar on these like golden platters, and these like nice things that they would show off, kind of like cocaine or whatever. They would just have these little platters that they would have at these dinner parties, and people would have tea, and they would have 2 scoops of sugar, and they would feel like ultra rich. But then the new world came, and slavery came, free labor came, and now we could get sugar for like pounds of it at cheap. And so it's all just drug trade. And then from that sugar, then they made rum, and then they bought and enslaved more people. Like, all right, let's. And so it was all derivatives of sugar cane, and for drug trafficking, it's criminal activity. It's criminal activity.
And then in the early 70s, they replaced sugar in America with high fructose corn syrup because it was a lot easier to produce. You had tons of corn available. It was a lot easier and cheaper to put into food products. And so all through the 70s, there was all these rumblings about low-fat diet this, low-fat diet that, and they're like, ha, 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 they cut their fat. They've got to go one way with one other macronutrient, and that was carbohydrate. It was inevitable, this growing storm between the creation of HFCS and the dietary guidelines that came in 1980 that said cut your fat, eat more healthy whole grains, but then the grains came with lots of sugar usually, and very refined. And so the palatability of refined grains with refined sugars, with refined salt, like we were talking about earlier, just became this monstrosity of explosion in obesity, diabetes, heart disease, not the Black Plague, heart disease, still the #1 killer in America. 700,000 people died of heart disease in the midst of this thing last year. Not even close to what died from the Black Plague.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's very irresponsible for somebody in the medical field to know that we're dealing with, okay, 2/3 of adults are obese, are dealing with chronic illness. 1/3 of children now are dealing with, obesity and chronic ailments. Like, it's criminal to be stressing them out, raising their cortisol levels, not teaching them about, not allowing them to get proper sunlight and exercise, and all. Like, you're setting them up for ultimate failure. Like, and I don't know how any person that is supposedly that educated cannot put 2 and 2, or not see, that what the situation that we're being put in. Like, and here we are, like we're, a new thing is happening now. But any logical person, any person with a little medical sense could have seen this coming. Like, it was obvious. Like, I was waiting for it. Okay, it's going to shift, just like the flu does. I mean, we know this, but they're said to not prepare us mentally for this is criminal. It's criminal.
Have you experienced the dreaded keto flu? Did you know that most of these symptoms are actually due to your body dumping excess electrolytes? This is where Element comes in. Element is a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing you don't. That means lots of salt with no sugar. Element is formulated to help anyone with their electrolyte needs and is perfectly suited to folks following a keto, low-carb, or paleo diet. Element contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio, 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium, with none of the junk, no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no fillers, no BS. Everyone needs electrolytes, especially those on low-carb diets, or if you practice intermittent or extended fasting, if you're physically active or sweat a lot. Add Element today and see how much better you feel and perform. Use the URL drinklmnt.com/Jimmy.
And especially for the kids who were just pulled from their natural environment last spring out of their schools, thrust home, and then you've got a pissed off parent that has to work from home, kind of yelling at the kid. And the first thing that I thought of was, what about all those situations at home that they go to school to get away from the situation? And now domestic abuse, like it's a thing. We can't sweep that under the rug and act like that doesn't exist. It's this. And then you saw 1 in 4 teenagers last year attempted suicide. I mean, they just got all these really horrific things, and then actual kids killing themselves. And I mean, it broke my heart last year to see all that unfolding. And to what end? What did we accomplish with all that we did?
Yeah, we traumatized a whole generation, and I think that imprint is in a cynical way what they wanted, because it seems that right now we're there's been a systematic destruction of the family unit and what that is. The adults have been taken away from the home, so first of all, the adults in their own educational upbringing, they don't know how to critically think. And so, they didn't bring that critical thinking into the household. Then they weren't in the household because both parents had to work. And so now that the child is left isolated, and here we are, the parasites, the vultures, you could see it in the laws that they're proposing. They want your child. They want your child, and they don't want you involved in the process of what they want, of the path that they want for your child. It's criminal on all levels. It's hurtful, man. And it's hurtful that, nobody really understands like the gravity of the situation. We should be livid at this point that we've been dealing with this, and those that are supposedly here to protect and serve us are taking total advantage of us, and now our children, so it can't get any more in our face. It's like the McDonald's guy, like, hell no, like it's just a slap in the face, and it just, it's hurtful. It's very hurtful.
Ambivalence is the next pandemic. Because I fear everything you just said. I felt all that, by the way, as you were talking. That I feel like we're just living in a world of ambivalence, and kids especially, which is kind of the focus of all your work with your children's books, which, by the way, thank you for talking about that. But we're going to something even deeper now of societally. Our kids are looking to us as the adults to say, how are we supposed to act in the midst of this? And so I hope parents, and I'm not a parent, but I'm a concerned adult that kind of goes, whoa, we need to demonstrate to that next generation how you overcome adversity. That's a part of health, by the way, you guys. You can't be healthy if you don't handle adversity well, and we're kind of being put to the test. Even look at all we're going through right now as you have a book about it?
Stand up for yourself. This is the overall issue is self-confidence. And most adults are bullied. And we're bullied now as adults. Do this or else. We're going to take away this. We're going to take away. That's bullying. That's the medical mafia. You can't think independently. I don't care about grandma's cure. Your grandma's cure isn't valid. Hippocrates and all of these people, all of this science for thousands and thousands of years, out the window. It's invalid because we said so. That's criminal. That's being bullied.
You're right. And a lot of people are willingly bullied by all kinds of people. Doctors is kind of a bully, but I could go down the list of all the bullies. So let's just say we're touching on something that hopefully we've planted a little bit of a seed in the adults here today to be that example to those kids in your life, nephews, nieces, sons, daughters, whoever it is. And I don't care what age they are. They could be 3 or they could be 33. You still have an influence. You still have an ability to impact them. And this this man right here is definitely impacting the world with his books. Again, go check him out, guys, here on Instagram, Dr_Pooch. That's Dr_POOCH. drpooch.com is his website to get all of his books. Dude, you've got 12 currently books, and how many do you hope to write?
Oh man, hundreds. Like you said, I have in the interim, like I've been working on these 12. Like I told you, it got cut short. I have so many other books. I just wrote a 13. Well, I have even 14 now. Actually done. But they deal with other issues like wastewater management and just the other issues. I have books on like anything dealing with holistic health. Like I don't want to list my concepts out there because there's some people listening like looking for concepts. But it's all holistic health. I want to corner the market and create the market for children's holistic health literature.
Well, the point is you could get into a whole book just talking about the toxicity of household cleaners. You could
I covered that I didn't say Toxic Tales is another book. How did I forget that? Toxic Tales is another book, and I actually covered that. So they go into the kitchen, which ironically is the most toxic place in the whole house, under the kitchen sink, right? And so they take out all the cleaners, and then by the time that they throw out all of these household cleaners, the dump truck, the hazardous waste guy pulls up right with his dump truck, and then he looks at the characters that are doing that work in the book, and he says, well, I can't throw that out. That's hazardous waste. And there's an epiphany that happens, like, oh, if you can't throw this in the trash, why am I using this on my countertops and my tables and on my floors? Like, there's another way. And so I go into the solutions and all of these things. Great book. Toxic Tales is another one. Yeah. So I cover everything. There's nothing that I left out. I'm telling you, the hokey pokey is the only thing I don't touch.
Well, and by the time a book would come out, it would be way past it anyway. So, but one just on immune system would be really fascinating. But guys, I hope you enjoyed Dr. Pooch. Dr. Pooch, thank you for being here today. Really enjoyed talking to you. I've been looking forward to this for a little while since we set it up. And I'm glad I met you on Clubhouse. I'll see you over there again sometime soon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been a pleasure.
Real Good Foods is one of the fastest growing frozen food companies in the U.S. Everything they make is nutrient dense, high in protein, low in carbs, and made from real food ingredients. Instead of using processed flours, everything they make is 100% grain-free and gluten-free, which is how they keep their carbs so low. They can be found at Costco, Walmart, Target, Kroger, and in almost every grocery store nationwide. Or you can order online. Check us out today at